Hey guys, gather round. You know how sometimes you hear a story that leaves you speechless? Well, today I'm going to share one with you that'll have you on the edge of your seat. It's about Gabby Petito, a young woman who embarked on a cross-country adventure with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Sounds like a dream trip, right? Well, things took a dark turn, and it's a tale that will make you wonder what's the story with these two. Now, Gabby and Brian were like two peas in a pod, planning this epic life journey across the plains of America in a van, if you will, a very nice van. They were, in some people's eyes, the picture of happiness. For instance, their Instagram feed was full of sun-kissed selfies, breathtaking landscapes, and tales of adventure that basically made their followers very green with envy. But beneath the surface, there were cracks in their relationship that only a few close friends noticed. Just weeks before Gabby disappeared, they had a run-in with the law in Moab, Utah. Apparently, a 911 caller saw a guy slapping a girl outside a cooperative store. When the cops pulled them over, Gabby was crying, and Brian was, well, he was as calm as a cucumber. She said she slapped him first. Well, in hindsight, you'll get to see what I'm talking about. It makes a little bit more sense later. All the pieces of the puzzle are put together. So let's back up a little bit. She said she slapped him first, but it was clear that there was more to the story. The police decided not to arrest anyone. As a matter of fact, they just separated them. They separated them for the night. And this is where things started to get ominous. Gabby, well, she was a social media influencer, always posting about their adventures. But it was very peculiar to her followers. You see, followers of big Instagram influencers, they pay attention. And they pay attention to a lot of cues, especially nonverbal cues. She would tend to make things look picture perfect, but it just didn't seem right to some people. Well, to a lot of people. Her posts seemed meticulously curated, with captions that spoke of love and being free, freedom. Meanwhile, Brian was a bit of a mystery man. Not much was known about him, except that he was pretty private. His past was shrouded in mystery, and even Gabby's closest friends really couldn't say much about him, beyond his love for adventure and his rugged charm. But when you're on a trip like this, you would think that this couple would be closer than ever, right? I mean, it's just them two traveling together in a very small van. And it's just you guys. You're in love, right? I mean, she's posting, I guess, about being happy and love. And it was very interesting, to say the least. Well, as you might have guessed it, it turned out that they were having some serious problems. The tension between them was palpable, even in their seemingly perfect world. And their perfect world was their Instagram posts. That was pretty much all anyone ever got from them, really. Friends that followed them, like close friends, noticed that their interactions were kind of peculiar. They became less frequent. They became less affectionate. The once vibrant, playful comments under their posts had dwindled, replaced by a sense of unease that neither of them could shake off. As they traveled from state to state, the distance between them seemed to grow. Gabby's posts became more about the landscapes and less about their relationship. Brian, on the other hand, remained silent. His presence felt only through occasional appearances in Gabby's photos. This adventure was supposed to bring them, ironically, closer together, but was instead slowly tearing them apart. And then, just as suddenly as it begun, everything stopped. Gabby's posts ceased, and her phone went silent. The last anyone heard from her was a cryptic message about needing space, and Brian's silence was deafening, leaving everyone wondering what the heck happened. Now, fast forward to September 2021. Gabby's family had not heard from her for over a week. She was always diligent about keeping everyone updated on their adventures. But this time, there was an unsettling silence. Her parents, her poor, precious parents, they tried calling her, they tried texting her, but her phone would go straight to voicemail. The lack of response sent a chill down their spines. They knew something was amiss, and they reported her missing. And that's when the search began. The authorities sprang into action, scouring through Gabby's social media posts and tracking her last known locations. Meanwhile, Brian went to Florida without Gabby, claiming he didn't know where she was. Yeah, right? It was obvious that he was trying to spin a yarn, folks. But it just didn't add up right. And his story, like all other people that try to deceive, was riddled with inconsistencies. And of course, the police were very skeptical. The FBI got involved, and soon Brian became a person of interest. But before they could question him, he vanished. He vanished into thin air. It was as though he was in some hot water and he was trying to cool off. His disappearance only fueled the suspicion. He was hiding something. He was obviously hiding something. As the search for Brian continued, FBI finally found Gabby's remains in Wyoming. The cause of death? Strangulation. It was a homicide. And the whole nation was left wondering who was behind this heinous crime. And the investigation was heating up. Brian was still on the loose, and the police were searching high and low. He seemed to have disappeared off the face of the earth. They scoured through surveillance footage, interviewed witnesses, and tracked his digital footprints. But every lead seemed to lead nowhere, to a dead end. The media frenzy surrounding the case was crazy. News outlets were filled with stories of Gabby's final fate. The public was captivated by the mystery. Social media platforms, influencers, everyone was speculating on what happened to Gabby. Where was Brian? Hashtag Find Gabby Petito trended worldwide. People demanded justice, and they weren't getting it. They wanted justice for a young woman's life that was cut short. And some were even speculating if Gabby had something to do with it even before when they got pulled over in Moab. And, was this really Brian's fault? Gabby was looked at like she was the abuser in the situation at the time. It was horrible. But things would finally wrap up and start to make sense. Like I said at the beginning, all the pieces of this puzzle came together, and you'll see. So like I said, people wanted justice for this young woman's life that had been brutally cut short. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure mounted on these authorities to find Brian and bring him to justice. But despite this massive manhunt, Brian remained elusive, leaving everyone wondering if they would ever catch him, if he remain unfound. Well, they found Brian, and they didn't find him alive. They found his remains in a Florida nature reserve. And guess what they discovered near his body? Well, a notebook. And that's where he confessed to poor Gabby's murder. Talk about a bombshell. And it was a wrap-up. The FBI closed the case and concluded that Brian had acted alone. But put the brakes on here for a second. You see, here's the thing. Gabby's parents, they don't buy that story. They actually believe there's more to it. And they're still seeking justice. The notebook, which was recovered by the FBI, revealed a very ominous, nefarious confession by Brian. He wrote that he had ended Gabby's life, claiming it was merciful and that that's what she wanted. Though later he acknowledged the mistakes he made. However, this narrative has been met with much skepticism by Gabby's family and their attorneys and law enforcement. They argue that Brian's account doesn't align with the evidence collected during the investigation. It's crazy to think about how this whole thing unfolded. From the moment that she went missing, it was like there were already missing pieces of the puzzle. But when Brian's confession came out, it was like the final piece fell into place. Yet there are so many other unanswered questions about this whole thing. So Gabby's family is determined to uncover even more truth, convinced that there might be more than just what Brian's notebook uncovered and what he claimed happened. They have filed a lawsuit against Brian's parents, alleging that they knew about Gabby's death and even the location of her body, but chose to remain silent. So as this case continues to age and unfold, the public seems to still be interested. It's a mystery. It's a tragedy of Gabby's life and her death. The search for answers has become a quest for justice. Not just for Gabby, but for all those who are affected by domestic violence and deception that goes along with it. And despite the settlement that was finally reached between the families, the quest for truth and accountability remains ongoing. This story about Gabby and Brian serves as a stark reminder, folks, of the complexities of human relationships and the devastating consequences of unchecked violence. So that's the story of Gabby Petito, a tragic tale of love turned deadly. I guess if you could call that love, even if it was from the beginning, I guess. It is a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful adventures can hide the darkest secrets. And if you are as intrigued as I am, share your thoughts in the comments section right down below. And remember that truth is always stranger than fiction. And thanks for tuning in, folks. If you even have a story to share, hit me up at editorsdesk1234@gmail.com. That's editorsdesk1234@gmail.com. What do you think about the case, folks? Do you think that Brian acted alone? I think it's pretty obvious that he did. I'm going to say about 85 to 90%. This is my opinion, that he acted alone. But what do you think? Do you know anything more about the case? Put it in the comments section below. Share your thoughts and even your theories about what happened, or any other stories that you might want to hear about that I could do some investigative reporting on and share with you in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Ding the bell for notifications for more true crime and lots of other different types of deep dives. And don't forget, I'll see you in the next file.